Just like that, my friend was gone. His family recognized his magical talent and sent him off to Canterlot. I never saw him again.
Well, why not?
Because of his cutie mark!
So let me get this straight. All of this happened because Starlight was friend-zoned? Oh god, no! Stop everything! Oh, thank god. So, was it lame for you? At long last, the Season 5 finale is here, the Cutie Remark. Since its brief reveal at Comic-Con, this episode has gotten a lot of expectations riding on it. As time went on, we saw little bits of Starlight Glimmer spying on our heroes, wondering how she was going to exact her revenge. And then it was revealed to be a time travel plot. I won't go into too much right now, but let's just say that when I start an editorial miniseries, I'll definitely be covering the topic of time travel. But for now, I need to talk about the Cutie Remark as a 2-part season finale that had tons riding on it. Now, personally, I didn't want to put all of my bets on this being a fantastic episode. I had faith in it, but I didn't just want to assume that this was going to be the episode everyone would expect, because, you know, expectations are bad. I kept in my mind that this may not be what I figured it would be, and chose to watch it as its own thing. So did I like it? That's kind of a hard question to answer. Alright, let's get started. Starlight Glimmer has returned with a plan for revenge as she reveals that she has obtained Star Swirl's time-traveling spell, upgrading its power. She uses it to stop the sonic rainboom that brought the main 6 together, creating a series of apocalyptic futures that all but spell doom for Equestria. Twilight and Spike must figure out how to stop her, but it just might take the most anticlimactic reformation I've seen in this series to set things right. As you probably figured out by now, I have a huge problem with how poorly this episode emotes empathy for Starlight Glimmer, so I'll just get that out of the way. Her backstory is so rushed, so come and go, so something that just happened that her redemption doesn't feel like something she earns. In fact, her motive seems incredibly ludicrous. She tries to get rid of cutie marks because some friend left her after getting his? Bite me, we've seen a fair number of characters staying true to their friendships after one got their cutie mark over the other. It gives me the vibe that Starlight gave up way too easily. Did she try to talk to him or contact him after her friend got his mark? In fact, the backstory is given such little time that we don't get a chance to understand anyone's view on it. Did Starburst try to contact Starlight after his family moved? Did he really just forget all about her? Was his destiny to randomly save someone from a collapsing tower of books and reorganize them on a bookshelf? God, what a lack of closure on that end. And Starlight doesn't face any real consequences for the trouble that she caused, or the fact that she was doing something that could have, I don't know, killed all life on the planet? She just faces the main 6 and her village for a couple of seconds and they forgive her. Starlight Glimmer's backstory and redemption aren't given enough time to develop her character properly because the episode is so obsessed with throwing all of these different time paradoxes at us, and it seriously hurts the episode. Also, because so much of the episode revolves around the exact same loop of Twilight failing to stop Starlight before being sent to a different future, it results in the episode having extremely awkward pacing. It's clear that the episode was more obsessed with showing the ideas of different possible futures instead of actually working off of them. I say that because we never stay in one place long enough before the plot forces Twilight to go back where she started. Some of them get a decent amount of time, but then there are the ones that just feel completely rushed and forgotten about entirely. So the episode doesn't provide any real reason to get sucked into any of them. And then you've got the plot holes. Oh yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this in a review of an episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and keep in mind that this has happened before, but this episode has completely obvious plot holes, and I guess the fact that this being a time travel episode was going to make this possibility inevitable. First off, we all know about the villains taking over because the main six didn't become friends to stop them, but here's the thing. The first ever villain that they fought against was Nightmare Moon. Really think about that. We all know how much Nightmare Moon cared about controlling Equestria. You think she would allow Discord or Chrysalis or Sombra or Tyrek, or the Flim Flam brothers for that matter, move onto her turf? And that's assuming that Diamond Tiara's cute Senora was thrown without Pinkie Pie, which brought the CMC together, which resulted in them becoming friends, which led to them bickering like friends in front of Discord's statue, which would have released him in the first place, which eventually transcends to him helping Tyrek absorb everyone's power before the Flim Flam brothers tear everything down after running the apples out of business. Even if Discord was revived somehow, Nightmare Moon still wouldn't just let him take over, and she'd also stop Tyrek from absorbing her power and the changelings from invading her land and Sombra from crowding her space with crystals. By definition, Nightmare Moon would be the only logical outcome of this whole paradox thing. Alright, I know they explain how the smallest change in time can have the most drastic outcome in the future, but that just raises even more questions. Would Luna just run out of oxygen and die on the moon for any of those possibilities to be possible? And for that matter, how was she shown reformed alongside Celestia in Discord's dominant timeline if the main six never reformed her? Did Celestia just do it herself? It's never told to us. You see where I'm coming from? The episode shows us so many possibilities without showing how these possibilities are possible, resulting in a lack of innovation for all of these possibilities. And allow me to ask a quick question, if you please. If the main six never came together at all, then how the hell did they get the exact same cutie marks every single time? We're never told if each of the main six eventually did the same things that they did without the Sonic Rain Boom, so it's another plot thread that's completely forgotten for the sake of these what-if stories that we never get to properly experience. That's not including a bunch of other things that weren't explained or expanded upon, like how did Starlight Glimmer find that spell? Why wasn't something this potentially dangerous being guarded? How did Starlight Glimmer change the spell so easily? Even if we assume she's more naturally talented than Twilight, it still doesn't explain how she knew the map in the castle was connected to the spell since Star Swirl made it before the castle came forth. I normally don't care about who wrote which episode, but Josh Haber, do us all a favor and never write a two-part episode for the show again, ever!
Keep it together, man!
Alright, I've gone on and on about the problems I've had with this episode, so you obviously think I didn't like it. Well, that's the thing. I went on and on about how the episode has so many obvious problems, and yet I still can't seem to get the feeling to say that I disliked it. Why is that? Could it be that despite all the obvious failings that came with the choice of making this two-parter a time-traveling episode, that there's still things to like about it? Well, yes there is. I spent a lot of time talking about the lack of innovation for all of these possible futures, but what I do like about the episode is most of the ideas themselves. Nightmare Moon's reign over Equestria is an interesting idea because we do want to see what the after effects are. Is there eventually a battle between Luna and Celestia for the fate of all Equestria? Will there be night ponies and bat ponies fighting against Celestia's royal guards? How would the planet survive if the sun isn't allowed to expose its heat to one side of the planet? I'd actually like to see how some of this would work. Then there's Sakura leading a rebellion against Queen Chrysalis and her army of changelings. I mean, hot damn, how awesome would it be to see Sakura leading an army in the jungle fighting against changelings? Would we get to see what Equestria is like if changelings took over? In fact, where could this jungle be at? Could it be that the invasion was so bad that the rebels had to hide out in the lands outside of Equestria? It sounds like an interesting idea with fun possibilities. Discord's timeline would be interesting for obvious reasons, as we could see what wacky and creative changes he may bring to the world with his power of chaos. The two that feel a little boring to me are Tyrek's and the Flim Flam brothers' timeline, since they don't really offer any creative possibilities. Tyrek's would just center around him absorbing everyone's power and blowing shit up, and really? The Flim Flam brothers are given a timeline? What villainy thing are they gonna do? Is the world really supposed to fall to their industrial espionage? How would that even be fought? With, oh god no, an environmental message? There are two more ideas though for me to talk about, such as the Ashlands timeline. We don't see how it happened, sure, but just the environment alone really sucks you in and wonder what could have caused this. It leaves you with this empty feeling inside knowing that there's nothing left to save. No grass, no towns, no signs of life, just wind, dead soil, and dried up mountains. It's simple, and yet it just leaves me with so much awe thinking about what this world would actually be like. Is it really dead? Is there nothing left? Is it possible that some life has survived and it's desperately trying to hold on to what's left? Could it mean that Fallout Equestria is possibly canon?
Yes! 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 Yes!
But the one that I really love, I mean love above all others, is the Crystal Empire War against Sombra. I mean, oh my god, how much more fucking awesome would this episode have been if this entire episode just took place in this one setting? How great would it be to see Twilight caught in a war between her friends and her mentor against Starlight Glimmer secretly helping Sombra and his mind-warped Crystal Pony army? Seriously, how much more fun would it be seeing Twilight interacting with her friends and family in this background? Rainbow Dash as a fearless scarred soldier in the front lines. Pinkie Pie who's become this badass force of nature wrecking everything in her path. Even Maud Pie joins the war and is just as capable of fighting as Pinkie. We could see how Applejack feels that her farm, her home that she always worked so hard to preserve, has now become a base for weapon development. We could see Rarity, who's become understandably overprotective of her sister in this war. We can see how Fluttershy is worried for lives of innocent animals caught up in the war, and how bad she must feel that they're being used for violent purposes. How would Twilight feel if she learned that her brother Shining Armor has become one of Sombra's manipulated guards and the heartbreaking battle she's eventually thrown into having with him? Seeing friends and families being separated and torn apart as a result of this war. Hell, if anything, this could have built up a more powerful redemption for Starlight Glimmer if she came to realize that her selfishness would have resulted in this horrible war that wouldn't benefit anybody, including Starburst. I mean, the episode doesn't explore it, but my god, the idea alone, just the idea leaves us with all of these ideas to make our own fun with it. Whew. Oh man, got sidetracked for a moment. Oh, gotta get back to the review. Anyway, there are some things to like besides the time travel ideas. The animation at certain points is really stylized and very creative. Because we don't stay in one place for too long, it allows the animators to make do with how they can make anything out of any place they're working with. The song, though built around an anticlimax, is still a fun song, and I'm also kind of interested as to why Twilight and her friends specifically are so special to Equestria. How without their friendship being formed, all of these bad things wouldn't have been prevented. I'm sure there's a good number of people bothered by this idea, but it does kind of make me think how this could make an idea for a future story possible. Plus again, I just really like the ideas alone that this episode makes. Because it doesn't delve into any of these possible futures, I was left making up my own ideas as to how these events could transpire. And you know what? I think that was the point of the episode. It was never meant to expand on any of these ideas, it was just supposed to give us some ideas, and make some of us wonder what being in these worlds would be like. The episode's goal overall was Twilight Sparkle trying to stop Starlight Glimmer from creating these futures, not actually going into them. And for the short amount of time that this episode has been out, the fandom is taking inspiration from all of these different futures and is making something out of them. Nothing major yet, but I'm sure something inspiring will come from artists, music makers, even some fanfiction writers in the fandom because of this episode. And so, it's time for me to give the best answer I can give to the main question. Did I like this episode? Honestly, I still can't say. And in a way, that's what makes this episode special. At least with Princess Spike and Rarity Investigates, I came to the clear conclusion that these episodes left me uninterested. But here, I'm wondering what's keeping me from disliking this episode. In terms of storytelling, it's obviously a huge mess. It's so obsessed with throwing too many ideas for a story that it never sticks to just one. Not to mention the extremely weak reformation that Starlight Glimmer was given. It doesn't feel like a story, it feels like an idea for a story. And it's really a bother that this just an idea for a story episode has to be considered canon because of Starlight Glimmer's redemption. But with all that said, there's still so many things to take from it. The possible stories we could get from each of these different timelines, the empty feeling we may get from the mystery of the 7th timeline. What could possibly make the main 6 so special that the future of the world practically depends on their friendship? These are all such great ideas, and I truly am happy that people in the fandom are starting to work off of them. In truth, it's one of those episodes that really got me thinking about the ideas that it offers instead of the actual story given to me. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. Should I be negative because the actual story wasn't good, or should I be happy that the scenario this episode chose resulted in all of these creative possibilities? It makes this episode special because it's the first episode I've ever seen where I fully feel ambiguous to the choice that I should make. Does this mean that I'll watch the episode again? Probably not, but I don't believe that my time was wasted watching it once, or twice for the sake of this review. The Cutie Remark in many ways is a disappointing conclusion to what is now my favorite season of MLP, and at the same time, I enjoyed enough things for me to talk about them for this length of time. What could this mean for Season 5 as a whole? Was it building up to a letdown, or did it still provide us with enough growth of the characters along with enough expansion of the show's universe that we shouldn't care? Whatever the answer is, I know that one thing is for certain. Season 5 has finally concluded, and with that, a giant hole has been put into my to-do list. So, until next time, MisAnthro Pony, over and out.